Now, we just got your guys' thoughts on the men's MVP. So, obviously, the women have had a big focal point of 2020 as well. I feel like every single year we see more and more women shine through. So, who's your guys', and we're going to start off with Adam, who's your guys' MVP for the women's division of 2020 so far?
I gotta say, it's Asuka. It's Asuka. I mean, who better in terms of character work, legit wrestling ability, shoot ability? She checks off all the boxes. And right now, I mean, she's kind of hit her stride. And I don't think she really gives a darn anymore. I really don't. I mean, I think she's kind of in her. I mean, she's in her element in the best of ways. In terms of like an honorable mention, I mean, Josh, you picked out NXT. One of the, I mean, the cornerstones I think in the WWE universe is actually NXT UK, and Ginny has to have an honorable mention because even though her ring work is not, I mean, she might be green, might be a little bit snug, but I mean, Ginny's it. But Asuka checks off all of the boxes. I mean, look at the look, the larger than life persona, a person that could literally handle her own in a shoot fight, who has the character work and, I mean, that hip attack or whatever, who runs into a fight with a hip attack, but she makes it believable. Everything she does is believable. And I think yeah, I mean, obviously, Carly Sane is on the outs, but Asuka raised the level of Kairi Sane in her short tenure on the main roster. So Asuka's MVP all day.
With that, I mean, nothing that you're saying about Asuka is wrong. Everything you're saying is 100% right. The thing with that is we've seen this with Asuka since she started in NXT. So it's nothing new in 2020. So with that, nothing has really changed with her. She has been MVP. But when I look at it, I look at someone who from one time frame has been doing nothing but moving up and as steep as it can get. And as surprisingly as this might sound to me, that person is Nikki Cross. Nikki Cross at the end of 2019, she was Alexa Bliss's lucky. You were trying to figure out, okay, which one of them's going to turn on the other? It's clearly going to be Alexa at some point. We're trying to do the Moment of Bliss segments. Nikki couldn't really find her place. But then as 2020 progressed, as the pandemic progressed, no one, men, women on any show, has taken better advantage of lack of crowd to get themselves over in terms of their wrestling, their promos, their empathy than Nikki Cross. She has become comedic. She has become sympathetic. She has become psychotic. She has become all the items that we wish we would have saw if she came out with sanity at the very beginning. She all of a sudden has emerged into a top-tier performer by herself, not on a tag team. And I am like 99.999% certain before 2020 is up, Nikki Cross will be a women's singles champion. Because of that, and with everything that we've seen in the improvement, Nikki Cross, female MVP.
Now, Adam, considering you had Asuka as your MVP, do you think that the way she won the title could have been a little bit different?
It is weird. It is weird. But then, I mean, if you go back to 2019 or I don't know what year it was when Carmella was kind of topping everybody's list in terms of MVP, the way she won Money in the Bank with James Ellsworth and what have you, that was kind of a miss, right? But that doesn't take away from the character, and I can separate the character, and story arc and type from the wrestler that is. You can't go into the Booker's office and say, hey, I'm not going to do that. There's a very finite few that can absolutely walk into Vince McMahon's office and change his mind. And I don't think that Carmella or Asuka or Nikki Cross are that. So with that all being said, the thing that is amiss with me about Nikki Cross is I still don't know what Nikki Cross is, because yes, her character, I mean, she was one of the low-key MVPs of this year's WrestleMania, and being able, just like you said, Josh, being able to adapt to that that no crowd environment. She adapted better than anyone else on the roster. That is absolutely true. But she's carrying a gimmick from a literal stable that is no more, right? And she's kind of the leftover vestige of that, in terms of her ring attire. It's a miss. To me, there's so much there. And that doesn't denote from her character work at all. She's, in the ring, behind the mic, and even with her thick accent, she still got it. But I don't know who Nikki Cross is as a character. I know what Alexa Bliss is. I know what other women on the roster are, but I don't necessarily, all in her tenure, both in NXT and WWE's main roster, I don't know who Nikki Cross is.
I really want you to respond to that, Josh, in a second. But with that said, just because when you said that, Adam, the first person I thought of is Roman Reigns. Do you feel the same way about Roman Reigns?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's all I need to know. But what was your rebuttal, Josh?
I was going to say, I can tell you who Nikki Cross is. Nikki Cross was the person who got Sanity over to begin with. So pretty much, yeah, there was Eric Young, Killian Dane, Alexander Wolf, and Nikki Cross. And if you ask any casual fan that just tunes in once a week, they would not be able to name the other three people. You also have someone then who came onto the quote-unquote main roster without Sanity because they felt that she was so good by herself that she didn't need to be with them, that the three of them were actually holding her back. And then when they brought her in typical WWE fashion with some of these NXT personas, they didn't know what to do with her. So she kind of fell by the wayside a little bit. But then once you got into the mid to late 2019, when they combined her with Alexa Bliss and they started giving her mic time, they started giving her some time to spotlight, started giving her matches with Bayley or Alexa or Lacey Evans, etc., you started then really seeing how she interacts with the fans, how good she is as a wrestler because she can hang with anyone. And then you also now in these last few months, when she's coming up with the promos about unsure of her confidence. Now you're having people relate to the psychopath, which is a unique twist to things. So when you put all that together, and as the weeks go by, it may result in a heel turn. She may turn on Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss may turn on her. They may remain friends. We have no idea. But the fact that we're spending this time guessing what's next for someone who's on TV every week, that's a sign of someone that we want to see develop, that we want to see each week, that we want to see succeed, and Nikki Cross is succeeding. And that's why, to me, Asuka's been there, and there's no doubt how good she is. Bayley's been there, and there's no doubt how good she is. Charlotte, Sasha, etc. We haven't been able to say that until 2020 with Nikki Cross. And that's why in 2020, to me, she's MVP.
What's the over under for her next for her WWE Championship or Women's Championship? Do you think by SummerSlam Survivor Series? Do you think she becomes champion?
Before 2020 ends, she will be champion, and I think that will cement her as MVP with a title reign.
No, I don't disagree with you there. I just think it's obviously what it's crazy that we're not mentioning the current champions and tag champions in Sasha Banks and Bayley, respectively, right? We're not mentioning them in the MVP list. They've kind of grown stale, even though it appeases them in terms of what they're doing. But it doesn't do anything for us. But even still, Nikki Cross versus Sasha Banks, Nikki Cross versus Bayley doesn't really do anything for me. But Asuka in that same situations, I'm all in. So.
Well, I want to really get the interest and reaction of anybody who's here watching. So feel free to comment down below if you agree with Adam, if you agree with Josh, if you have your own pick. Who knows? Maybe you guys got Bayley or Sasha or even somebody like a Zelina Vega, who I thought was killing it around WrestleMania time. But before we go, put yourselves over.
I am According to Woods on literally everything. According to Woods on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and I think I even have a tip clock. So there's that.
A tip clock?
a tip clock, something or other. One of those things. Those kids and the sniffing glue.
Well, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh_Tariff, YouTube.com/Josh Tariff. Got a bunch of content up there, including my weekly sit-down interview show with various wrestlers called Josh Talks that airs every Tuesday. And I love to see the comments below, because if all the comments say that you guys agree with me more, I think I win the belt of my choice of whatever's behind Adam there. So I like that. It would add to my collection. It'd be good.
Hey, it's Christy Olson. If you like this video as much as I did, give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends so they can join in the wrestling chatter too. And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and follow the show on Twitter at TW Chatter. See you next time.